Hello, friends. Today I'm going to talk about a couple things regarding Peak of Combat. Now, these are things that people might not know. A lot of people did not have access to the CN version. I was lucky enough to get a hold of Billy customer support back when 1.0 came out. And I sent them my real credentials, and they made me an account, so I can play this without breaking any laws. I do feel that people had a lot of revisionist history involving DMC Peak of Combat 1.0, mostly just because everybody talks about the combat, and you get a lot of comments on anything they put up with this game saying go back to 1.0. Problem with 1.0 was it was a terrible service game. You might remember the Avengers game that came out a few years ago. Those two games actually have a lot in common, meaning that the gameplay was actually good. Everything surrounding the gameplay was awful, and that's why those games died. Now, I do think that I definitely agree with the people that say that the combat should go back to the way it was. However, I don't want them to just go back to 1.0, and it's obvious that they're not going to do that because of something I'm going to get into shortly. However, everything that's not the combat in 2.0 is a straight improvement, and I think that over time, as we're going to see here shortly, that they are going to just make more complex and deep characters as they get used to making them within the restrictions of the combat system that they set up. Now, if you played a lot of other games like this, I'm going to list off a bunch. Honkai Impact, Punishing Gray Raven, which is a game I play on this channel pretty much every day. Also, the Dynasty Warriors games that get, DLC weapons and stuff. Pretty much that's always been a pattern where, the weapons and the movesets that launch with the original launch game, whether it's a service game like the games I mentioned, or a one-time purchase single-player focused game like the Dynasty Warriors games, they always get better at making the movesets within the restraints of, the gameplay systems that they've set up. A good example would be Dynasty Warriors 7. When they put that game out, a lot of the weapons were very basic and generic, and, they were still fun to use, but they didn't really feel interesting. When they did the DLC weapon pack for that game, those weapons actually had a lot of cool gimmicks and stuff, like being able to extend your charge attacks into square attacks and so on and so forth. And those weapons were a lot of fun, and then they kind of incorporated that design into Dynasty Warriors 8. You could say the same thing for Dynasty Warriors 9 as well. In terms of the service games, Punishing Gray Raven and Honkai Impact had very one-dimensional, boring characters to use at launch, just like this does. However, in time, if you've watched any of the footage of the characters that are coming to PGR and Honkai Impact that aren't on the global versions, you can tell that they're way more involved than what was at launch, what was available at launch. So, I have faith. I know this might be a little bit of copium. I have faith that they will improve that over time, and we're going to show an example of that shortly. However, I wanted to say one thing. I feel like the global version wiping is giving people a lot of false hope that they might go back to the old combat. However, I have pretty much undisputed proof that they are not going to do that. Now, if you go here, so basically the way that this works is if you played 1.0, they have a specific server for veteran players. I guess that's because, as you can see here, I got 300% rebate on what I spent. Now, I don't know how much money this is, but I got 3 times what I spent. And this was enough to get, like, every character that's in the game right now. As soon as I got out of the tutorial, actually, I hadn't even gotten out of the tutorial. I just got literally everybody. I have enough to get, like, pretty much every new character they add, probably for the next few months. Now, that might sound like a good thing on paper. However, you gotta realize there's a lot of finality to giving people a full rebate of everything they spent on the first version. Obviously, you can't do that if you're going to wipe, right? Now, I find it weird that the global version is wiping, and this is not, because since they're giving this full rebate, I mean, you can look here. Look at how much stuff I have. I could get, like, every character that they're going to put out probably for the next 3 or 4 months without spending a cent. You can't do that if you're going to wipe, right? So I think that they're giving the global players a lot of false hope. I mean, there might be some kind of small chance that, like, maybe they're going to change things for the global version, but I seriously doubt that. I feel like they would need to see some significant income before they can do that. Obviously, right now, you can use the cash shop on global, however, you know, everything gets wiped and you get a rebate depending on how much you spend, like on here. So, I really don't think that's in the cards. However, they did put out Ice Lady, who I got here. We'll go ahead and check her out. This character actually has a lot of moves, and she does not have a move on cooldown. Instead, she just has a second attack button. So that tells me that maybe they'll make the characters better over time. See, she's got a ton of moves. So look at the comparison between this Virgil, who's basically just recycled assets from 1.0, but with like 90% of his moveset removed. Look at what he can do. They did give him a little buff with the doppelgangers coming out, but other than that, he's very simple and one-dimensional. And then look at the stuff she could do. So I think that should maybe quell some worries. I think that they're just gonna keep the combat the way it is. It's very apparent that they will because they just gave a full rebate. Also, people who played the original version of the game are stuck on a different server. I guess that's for game balance reasons, because what a lot of people don't know about 1.0 is that it was secretly pay to win. Basically, they had like elemental gems that you could get, and you could put them on things, and when you enhance them enough, you could basically just one-shot stuff. So there were people, I'm sure, I don't know of any official reports myself, but there were people who could one-shot every fight in the Bloody Palace just by like pushing a couple buttons. So there were probably people who spent thousands. Obviously, I did not spend that much. I spent enough to make the videos, and then that was it. I stopped when the game went maintenance mode for like over a year. But I guess what they're doing is they're kind of separating people who played the original version, because they're going to have like, I've got to have like at least $400, $500, $600 of in-game currency. I guess they want to make it so that those people can't just completely destroy the leaderboards. But what that's saying is that there's a lot of finality to how things are set up now, meaning that they're not going to change the combat. It would be honestly a miracle if they did. However, you can see with this character here, she's got a lot of moves. She has like more moves than the other two characters I've got in my party combined. So if they keep this design up, I think that the game will actually be in a pretty good spot. Like I said, anybody who says that you know, they should just go back to 1.0 clearly did not play it, because it was very much like the Avengers game, which I'm sure a lot of you have played or at least watched videos on, where everybody was saying, parroting pretty much the same thing, like, hey, this combat is awesome, but everything else about the game sucks, and it's a bad service game because they don't update, they don't give you reason to keep playing. They have fixed all of those problems. However, I feel like the base characters are very boring to use, and over time, if they make more characters like this, I mean, she's got a dash string, she's got a whole dodge string. She's got a ton of crazy stuff. So, the next character on the CN version is going to be Devil Claw Nero, who we already got on Global. After that, I think they'll be out of characters that they haven't already made before. So now that I've got all this credit on here, I think I actually will probably cover a lot of the new characters, and I'll do videos for them because it literally won't cost me a cent. But I just wanted to clear up some things. I wanted to kind of, I guess, dismiss a lot of the copium and hopium that everyone has. It's pretty obvious now that they're giving out a refund or rebate, that they're not going to go back to the old combat. However, this Ice Lady here is pretty much proof that they are going to make more advanced and involved and deeper characters over time. So as they come out, I'll definitely let you guys know. Thanks for watching.